guys, and welcome to another episode of StarCraft, where I go through the missions on how to get the achievements. Today we're doing Shoot the Messenger mission in the Heart of the Swarm campaign. The achievements are Shoot the Messenger, which is complete the mission. Extreme Nexusism, that's Nexusism, don't misquote me. Destroy 2 Nexuses on normal. Warp in peace. Don't let a Protoss shuttle begin warping out. Now this one's pretty simple, as long as you focus on making swarm queens, and hydralisks, because they can attack both ground units and air units. They are very effective. As far as base defense goes, you won't have to worry too much about that, because your force, the patrols, are gonna have to come down the map, and you'll be able to see them, because there's only certain pathways they can go down. So you won't have to worry too much about home defense, but if you want to, go ahead and throw up the 5 spine crawlers. As far as defending the warp gates, you won't have to worry too much on those as long as you got the troops for it, because as long as you have the troops, the firepower needed to bring down the shuttles isn't that big. Now later on, when they start bringing in escorts for it, you'll need a bigger force, but by then you should have that force ready. So. Yeah, after this first shuttle comes down, basically off to the right, down the path of your base, there's another hatchery location down there, with I think like 2 or 3 zealots guarding it. So all you have to do is take them out, and then you get your second hatchery expansion without any resources invested into it, which is a really good perk. I do like the Heart of the Swarm missions over the campaigns, because you actually get to play with the general while controlling the army. Kerrigan, basically, I think Kerrigan is one of the reasons I got into playing MOBAs a lot, because switching from playing Heart of the Swarm into playing a MOBA, it's basically the same, except for you don't have to worry about controlling the army anymore. You just gotta focus on controlling the general, which is pretty simple, because usually in MOBAs they only have maybe at most 5 abilities, and your generals generally don't have more than about 5 abilities either, so. Even on the missions where you're just controlling the general and some troops, and don't have to worry about base management or anything like that. Yeah, the biggest resistance you'll run into is, every once in a while they'll have a few troops stationed with a cannon and a pylon, like you just saw. So basically you just kind of run around with your patrol and take them out, so you're not accidentally running into them when you're trying to take down a shuttle. Yeah, make sure you keep up on your uh, upgrades, so this way you, your army starts getting better, and they won't get taken out as much. Yeah, I focus on a Hydralisk army. Like I said, the best way to go is like a mix between Hydralisk and Swarm Queens, because, well, for one, the Swarm Queens you can actually select with your F2 function, and they heal. Which I do have to clarify what I've been saying about the Swarm Queen heals. They aren't an AoE like I thought they were. They are targeted, but they are automatic. So, like I said, that's a big bonus as opposed to having to manually go through and go, I want to heal that one, I want to heal that one, I want to heal that one. And when you got like 20 Swarm Queens, 20 regular Queens, it's kind of a bit of a rough thing. That's why I like the Swarm Queens over just regular Queens. So they're not as broken as I thought they were, but they're still pretty dang good. Also, this map mission thing is probably one of my more favorite ones from the co-op missions, because it's basically the same thing, but you get a friend that helps you, a friend commander, which helps you do the mission, which can be from any of the factions. So it's always fun to have like Protoss doing against the Protoss shuttles. Which is weird because on the co-op mission, it's Protoss shuttles, but it can be any of the three factions because it's technically Amon. It's technically Amon sending the troops and the shuttles. So it's like, okay, I have Protoss shuttles, but I could have Zerg or Terran escorts or Protoss. But yeah. Yeah, I set this expansion up over here because I didn't know about the expansion that's down off to the right until accidentally coming upon it. So, like I said, if you just right after that first shuttle go down there, you don't have to spend minerals on expanding to the other expansion until after you're ready for it. Also, another good thing about this map is you will find frozen Hydralisks all over it, so that's just fun. Yeah, the other reason I went with the Hydralisk Swarm Queen army is because there's a lot of sentries you'll run into around here, and if you went just with a Zerg army / Hydralisk or Zerg / Swarm Queen, those force fields they put down can be a real pain in the butt. And if you wanted, basically expand your creep tumors, so your creep gets right over to where my troops are right there, 90% of the shuttles that come through will come through this spot. So if you expand your creep tumor or your creep to over here, you can just lay this spot down with spore crawlers and spine crawlers, because all the shuttles do pass by there, but at the same time most of the patrols also come through that direction. So because I do believe there are 2 paths out of the Protoss base. So there's that one right there, and then off to the left, over just above this hatchery, there's another one. There's another path out, so. I think here's where I start to get, like, ballsy and try to start pushing into the Protoss camps. Because, yeah, that is one way you can end this mission really quick, is you can't destroy the warp gates, but you can destroy the shuttle docking bays. So if you have a sizable force and just think you can wreck shop, just go ahead and move in and start pouring into the base, and you'll wind up clearing the entire... if you clear all the Protoss, you'll wind up completing the mission before the shuttles even have a chance to launch. Which I've done that before. I wound up beating the mission so early, I think it was around the third or fourth wave, that I was like, oops, I didn't get any of the bonus achievements or anything like that, so it's like, oh, I gotta do this again. But yeah, you have to clear into the main Protoss stuff, because you have to kill 2 Nexuses anyway, so it's just one of those things. If you feel like you can push, go ahead and push, because that way you can end the mission early, but just make sure you have enough mind to move your forces out, just in case the shuttles start getting past you, and you need to go stop them. Because that is one of the achievements, is you can't let the shuttles start warping out. So they can't reach the any of the warp gates. So you got to be careful on that. Yeah, I think here's where I actually discovered the expansion. I was like, oh, hey. Free base. So yeah, once you destroy those 3 zealots, you automatically gain control of the base. So it's like pretty nice. Yeah, see how, like, most of the patrols, they just come right by this one spot. So if you set up your main defenses right here, you won't have to worry about the shuttles that much. There are a couple of them that do not use that path, but 90% of the shuttles will use that spot. So yeah, like I said, this mission's pretty easy. It's just one of those, it's a very, you have to wait on the enemy is the problem with this mission, which is why I said, like, if you have the forces, go ahead and push into the base and start taking it out. Because, heck, that's a lot faster than just waiting for, because I think each different shuttle takes, like, 3-4 minutes before it starts spawning. I mean, before it starts moving out, so it's just like, okay. When's the next one? Come on. I know you're there. I'm waiting for you. Come on. And it's just like a real pain in the butt, because I am not a patient person. And as you've seen through most of these videos, a lot of times it causes me to lose a lot of forces. Just because I'll be like, push in! Oh, I shouldn't have done that yet. Well, okay, now I gotta wait until I can push in the right way. Here I start using the creep tumors to try to spread creep and place defenses out further. But yeah, like I said, if you just put them around that ridge, you won't have to do what I do here and kind of place them in front of the warp gates. Instead, all you'll have to do is just place them around that one ridge and just use your forces to grab the ones that kind of go around that ridge. Because I think only 2 patrols actually don't use that ridge, or 2 shuttles don't use that ridge. So, yeah. Oh yeah, do be aware if you do go in and start destroying the shuttles, they will, if you destroy one of the shuttle bays, they'll start spawning. I think there's 3 different shuttle bays that are in the camp. So if you destroy one, they'll start spawning from the other 2. So just because you destroy it doesn't mean you got rid of that wave. They'll still be coming. But yeah, you can see both of those shuttles are headed. Their pathways cross that ridge. So. Yeah, the cool part about these, actually, the cool part about the co-op missions over these is the co-op missions on the final pushes in will start using, if it's Zerg, they'll start using Leviathans to protect the Protoss shuttles. If it's Terrans, they'll use heavy battle cruisers, and well, not battle cruisers, the Gorgons they'll start using. And if it's the Protoss, they'll use motherships, which is just a pain in the butt. Because everything else, you know, you can kind of just like, okay, send your troops in and target down the shuttle, and yeah, I'll lose a couple, but, you know, it's worth it, so this way I, you know, down the shuttle and not lose the mission. But with the Protoss doing escort, it's like, oh, well, I gotta take care of the patrol before I can even touch the shuttle, so... Unless you have something like overseers, or your probes, or something like that, some kind of detector. Which, as far as detectors go, for the Zerg, I think they have the overseers, which basically you can morph from the overlord, or no, the overlords is the detector. The overseer is just the regular supplier. But the overlord is something you can morph from the overseer, and it basically becomes this like fast scout unit that basically is a detector. It can also make like barrage troops that basically if it can get up to one of the enemy troops, it can place down a copy of that troop that'll follow that troop around and go into their camps and stuff like that. And unless they are aware of it when it becomes a copy, it won't get destroyed. So it's a good way to spy on your enemies. And as far as detectors go in the Protoss, I know they have the Observer, and I think they have what is the name of the it's the big crescent ship. I think it's the Mirage. I cannot remember their name, but it's the big crescent ship that shoots like big orbs of light. Those are detectors as well. And I don't like those too much because they're very slow, and they can only target one thing at a time, so... As far as Terrans, I think they have the missile turrets, which are detectors, and oh yeah, Zerg also have spore crawlers, which are detectors, and so do Protoss. They have their cannons, which are detectors. So if you're ever having trouble with cloaked units, remember that you can set up turrets and you know, spore crawlers to help get rid of cloaked units. Also, with the Terrans, if you make your command centers into the refinery center, I think is what it's called. The one with the satellite on top instead of the gun. But if you make them into that, they get two abilities with that. They get the one to call down mules, and the scan ability, which is basically like a targeted AoE on anywhere on the map that reveals everything in that location. Also acts as a detector for a short period of time, so it's really effective if you're out in the field and run into cloaked units. But the other units you can use for detectors on the Terrans are the Ravens, which they have a myriad of abilities. They have the ability to lay down turrets that can shoot both ground and air units. And then they have a Seeker missile, which is basically a very effective bomb. It does a lot of damage to light units and stuff like that. And then they have they're a detector, so those are really effective units. And then the other detector, well, I don't know if it's not a detector, but it's another aerial support unit like the Raven. Oh, it's the science vessel. Basically, if you're on the campaign, the Terran campaign, it's the research unlock on the, I think it's the Zerg research, or I think it's Protoss is what it is. But basically, you get an option of unlocking the Raven or unlocking the science vessel. I used to always go with the science vessel until I figured out that I went mech a lot with Terrans, and the science vessel is a medic, but for mech units. So I eventually went to the science vessel because it was a lot easier than having 30 SCVs run around and get killed off to one siege tank blast, you know, which was like very undermining. Or one Baneling comes in and takes out 4 of them, and it's like, oh, well, there goes 200 mineral I gotta spend. So I like the science vessel because I think it costs like 200 mineral and 100 as Vespian, but it also has the healing ability for mechs, plus it has the ability to basically put a radioactive cloud down that does a damage over time buff on units, on biological units, I should say. But yeah, see, both of these shuttle paths come straight across this ridge, so. If you're quick with your micro, you can spread creep up here pretty fast, so if you do that, then you can just, like I said, mine that entire area with spore crawlers and all that different stuff. Also, if you have carriers like I did there, that because of their range, they can attack you from all the way back in the camp and you won't be able to get them. So to pull them forward, just move your army away from the ridge and it'll force the carrier to come forward, and then you can come back in and mop it up. Yeah, when fighting patrols, make sure you take out siege units first. That'll be like your tanks for your Terrans, your Ultralisks for your Zerg, and the Colossi for the Protoss. So that's just kind of a heads up for future endeavors. Which, as you watch me, you'll see I never do that. I'll just kind of send the death ball at them until the death ball either dies or it does. So, like I said, I am not good at macro. It's one of my only regrets. It's like I'm pretty good at playing StarCraft, but I've never been good at doing the whole macro game where I can control each individual unit by itself. I say I'm pretty good. I think my APM on multiplayer is usually somewhere in the 60 and 70, and then I look at the pros, and they're doing like 270 and 300, and I'm going, nope. Yeah, this one sends a mothership as well. I forgot this one sends a mothership. But yeah, the bad thing about the co-op mission is each one of these shuttles would have had a mothership a mothership with it. And if it was on the Terrans or the Zerg, each one would have had a... if it's Terrans, they have 2 of the Gorgon battle cruisers. If it's Zerg, they have 2 Leviathans, so it's like... At least with the Protoss, you only have to deal with 1 mothership. And then I think they have either 2 Void Rays or 2 of the jet fighters. But that was how to get the achievements for this mission, and I'll see you again in the next one. Thanks for watching, guys. If you like what you saw, give me a like, share, and leave a comment down below. I love hearing from you guys. I'll see you in the next one.